close my eyes, I see a strange reality. Am I dreaming, or on the edge of remembering? You wake up feeling like you really don't belong. You can't explain it, but when you close your eyes you see familiarity. Are you dreaming, or on the edge of remembering?
Hello, darlings. Okay, this is our third attempt to make pockets for one of my cheap tops. Now, yesterday when I was cooking up a storm, I was also scraping up a storm. I'm having a problem receiving my own show right now. Okay. Let's go back. Looks like it's just stuck. I'll reload my page. It looks like I'm live here. It looks like things are operating. But we'll try it. It looks like it's buffering. And I don't understand that because this phone has lots of room. But you know what, just in case, I am going to restart my phone. Restart, which we should do once a day anyway, to get rid of little hanger-ons that disappear when we restart and shut off programs. So as I was saying, I cut myself yesterday, and it was not a good cut. I mean, good in terms of how it was definitely cut. Anyway, I had to bandage it up really fast to stop the bleeding, and now the bandage is stuck on me, and I've got fresh bandages and antibiotic stuff all waiting, but I can't get the Band-Aid off all the way, so it's soaking underneath here because that's what the first aid instructions say to do. Soak it. And apply like Vaseline, which is also going on. And slowly, slowly remove it. Do not tear it off. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Not tear it off. I'm glad to say I did not slice off any major arteries. So I don't need a first aid ER thing. Okay, so we have all the layers on here except for the decorations. Right now it's just going to be solid black. So after I cut it and it's felted, I can needle felt the pattern on it. I've decided to go with the gold. This gold is just actually the best match I have in my yarn for 3 pairs of tights that I have. So I'll have an outfit. My favorites are actually green, but I don't have any green yarn that matches. Now, who knows what might happen, because I'm getting some more wool samples, and I don't know what they're gonna look like in terms of color selection. So anyway, I just pointed that out because it's gonna look weird. Like, why do I have a weird cut, a glove on one hand and nothing on the other? And they need to breathe, but that needs to soak. So I just don't want to stop doing what I would like to do because of a stupid cut. Or any other physical stuff. Now, as it happens today, we are going to have our first community meeting that is not about fire and inspections and stuff that always has to get done just because it's an apartment building. Okay, there I am. I'm live again. All right. Hey, get back up there. Okay, now I'm back. I'm astonished at myself. Okay. Now Canada's. Actually, why don't I make that face down? It doesn't need soap on this side, it just happens. This is a soap bar. I have to make a blob, or something I can enjoy, like, I don't know, maybe this. It's actually my teacup cover. How dare you be a mosquito near me? They die if they bite me, but nevertheless, I don't like to get bit. I would not think I'd see a mosquito around today, but then again, Alaska is one of the places that has more mosquitoes than any other place on Earth. And Alaska. So doesn't take, a lot of them just need 1 day to thaw and hatch. Now I'm nowhere near Alaska, but we've had snow on the ground now for over a week, and it doesn't look like it's melting. Now this is a good thing. If we can stay frozen for 30 days, that is what we need. 30 days of straight freeze helps to bring down the population of fleas and ticks. And this being Connecticut, and me not being all that far away from where Lyme disease is named after, Old Lyme. We don't want ticks around here. I actually did find one on myself when I first year I lived here, and I have no clue how I picked it up because I wasn't around. Oh, maybe I was around a dog. Anyway, it didn't bite me. I found it before it could embed anything, so it was just a surprise. When you no longer have pets and you no longer take long walks through the woods, your guard goes down a bit for things like that. Okay, let's pop you over. I can see why they use bigger things than that. Hello. Very loose. Don't get everywhere. Now, I think, if I did it correctly, I ordered a beautiful skein of, I actually don't even know what they call it because they sell it by the weight. So I bought a ball, I think it's like 5 grams, of a golden yellow yarn wool. And the thing is, I do not look good in yellow. I love the color. So I'm going to make some stuff for myself, or something with myself, that has the colors I don't look good in further away from my face, and the colors I do look good in closer to my face. It was just a wonderful realization that I can make something I can wear. It doesn't have to be art that I'm giving away. Just make something unusual. Well, we're getting closer, but we're not there yet. I think my problem when I first tried it was not enough water. It has to it's really a light touch to start with. It's certainly not a strain on your body. And what I like about this is even with arthritis, you can do this. Squeaky clean. I was brought up in a generation where they thought if your face was not squeaky clean, it wasn't clean. The problem is if it's squeaky clean, it means you just washed off all the oils of your skin, your skin's protection. That's why we have to go ahead and invest in all these moisturizers and body lotions, because water is very dehydrating externally. start squeezing some of the water out of it. At the same time encouraging the clumping action called felting or fulling. Although this is not being fulled. Actually, I don't know. I've got to look that up again. I really need to buy a book on this. I like having books to open and go, oh yeah. Like, you know, the recipes right there. Oh, you're rolling off right there. We don't want that. We are not going to roll you then. We'll see how this works. Rock-a-bye, baby, on the treetop. I wonder who has the copyright to that one. Now I know the version used in Marx Brothers Day at the Races. Definitely copyrighted. You were definitely not felted there. You can do way better than that. It is more solid than it was when I started it though. We are seeing some improvements. I'll probably end up trimming that off. Or when I cut this pocket open, I'll cut it from that side. Like you. What are you doing? Unfelting. Let's see if that helps. I'll stretch this out a little more. Try to cover up some of the little loose ends there without becoming more loose ends. Nope, I've got to get that dry. Strangely enough, this is the first fail I've actually had. I mean, I didn't have the right template for my first piece, but it came out perfect. I was impressed with myself for a first try. The second time also came out pretty good. It was a very different project, and my first attempt using a bowl to help me mold it. And so I did pretty good with that one, so I was definitely encouraged. And then this, which should have been just straight up, straight black pocket, and this is my third time at it, doing the same thing, only more wool on it, so I'm hoping that that is the answer. Now, I don't really have to fret too much about how these ends go because they're going to be cut. I'm going to be making two flat pieces to attach to a long, shapeless black sweatshirt. No, we need more. Let's give it some more. Man, I hope refreshments are served at the meeting today. They didn't mention that. This is why we have towels. Oh, yep, it's definitely starting to felt there. That's what we want to see. Like a magic trick. Ta-da! Ouch. aggressive plastic. Nope. And unfortunately, you've got no reason to complain. Be grateful you've got no reason to complain. Aloha. Have you had breakfast? Damn, this is the only wool I've had a problem with. My God, what if it's not actually wool? I really am wasting my time. Good luck. What are you taming today? Oh, good. What did it take? I think I'm in the mood for coffee. I'm sorry, I can't bring my mic any closer to myself. I'm just speaking quietly and I'm maxed out. Hello, Australia. What are you doing up? I mean, that's normal for us to get up at that time. I don't know how you ended up here either. It could have been anything. Magic. Whimsy. We used to have quite a few viewers from Australia, but that was when I did a morning program, and you guys were up late. Yeah, you told me that. That was yesterday, right? Did you go to the other island? Yeah, young people give up so easily these days, don't they? All right, I am going to have to go soon, so I'm not going to be able to finish this piece. I'm going to hit it with some more soapy water, close it up. There's the soap. This time we'll do it bubble side down. Et voila. Oh, you are an early bird. I am making a wet felted set of pockets to attach to a plain black sweatshirt I have with no pockets. So what was wrong with it, Maui? Okay, so wet felting. I just discovered recently by looking up needle felting. And my very first piece, I was trying to make a cozy for my breakfast food bowl when I make oatmeal. But I didn't make a template correctly. I wasn't sure where it was going to shrink. But it turned out this is super strong and very cozy. And I realized the other day, this sweatshirt somebody gave me has no pockets. It's just a big blob of black fabric. So I thought I'd make some pockets and make some decorations on the pockets and then attach them to that shapeless blob of a top. Because I need pockets. So I thought, let's start with black on black, and then I can use my gold because I'm going to make it match some tights I have. Because I have 3 pairs of the same color tights. So after a while, the wool, because it's natural wool, starts to weave itself into a mash, and that's way easier for me than trying to sew, which I am infamously bad at. This is felted soap. This is not very pretty as my first attempt at doing this to see what would happen. But what it does is it makes your soap last way longer while acting kind of like a loofah that never gets moldy because wool. So I tried a couple different techniques just to learn how to do it on a bar of soap. So no, it is not attractive whatsoever. But I am using it to make other felt. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also waiting for some materials to come so I can make some scarves and shawls and kind of stuff like that. My own clothes, at last. You didn't look? The phone's card. Oh, good. Oh, well then I would look up wet felting, because the other felting uses needles, and those are dangerous. They're effective but dangerous. But you can actually do wet felted paintings like pictures. I have something. My first painting was done with wool. Excuse me. I should say my first wool painting is somewhere over here, where I now forget where I put it. Basically, I got a whole bunch of different colors, little bits of color, and by buying these large sample packs of just little bits, and you open them up, and sometimes they're really good and they've been well taken care of before you get it, and some of them are just like a 4-year-old put it together like this. It's like, what the hell? So it's a good one for kids. It's safe. It's just soap, water, wool, and time. You were hoping to get a new phone. This is not a good idea to be buying a new phone now. A new phone now is going to be full of spyware that you can't turn off. That's why I keep telling people, do not upgrade your iPhones, because they already let it know. All the security experts said, you will be completely exposed. They are selling your data, and they're not telling you what they're taking. So, no. So what age children? Because, okay, like when you're doing a painting, they'll also show you how to make, there's all kinds of videos here on YouTube that teach this. You can make, it teaches you how to make snakes and worms, so you can get these 3-dimensional objects out of little, basically scraps of dyed yarn. Unless they're allergic to wool or the soapy water, there isn't really much else to it. It's water and soap, and you make the wool shrink into itself. And then, of course, you do things like press it and all that. Ah, my God, yeah. That's awesome. Well, see, I get bored by crocheting, and I'm really bad at doing patterns. I'm dyslexic, and I'm always messing stuff up if I try to follow things. Don't let me sit here and count, because my mind will go off into poetry or something, so it doesn't work for me. So I tried sewing like 3 times, 3 machines I bought, 3 machines I gave away to people who could sew. So when I discovered this, I just freaked out. I fell in love with it. Then so I've been watching all these wet felting creative videos, and they're all over the place in New Zealand, because wherever they have sheep and you find wool, you will find people doing crafts with the wool. The dyeing process I would avoid. I learned about dyes when I was studying herbology years ago, and it is basically it's a chemical process. You need a mordant to make dyes stick to natural fibers, blah blah blah. You really need to know your stuff to do good dye jobs, so I just buy it already dyed. If I lived on a farm again, well, I lived on a farm but no livestock. My neighbors had cows, I had vegetables. But lots of people are doing this. 10 years old? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look up beginning wet felting for children. You will find a whole bunch of projects that are literally so soft You know, they're not going to hurt themselves, but interesting enough for a 10-year-old's active imagination. Like, I've always wanted like a cobwebby, a la Addams Family. I wanted a really cobwebby scarf, and then I discovered there's actually something called a cobweb scarf. So I started making some cobwebs, but the problem with that is it has to be attached to something like silk or gauze. And it turns out I've got a 100-year-old scarf that I've been dragging all over the country for over 50 years, and it can't be worn anymore because it is so full of holes. It's become its own cobweb scarf. But it's so cobwebby, I don't want to wear it anymore because it'll just destroy it. And I couldn't throw it away at 100 years old, right? And also, it's got silk tassels. I mean, all this stuff was hand tied on here. And I got it in an antique shop 50 years ago, so yeah, that's the bubble wrap I'm popping with my elbows. Well, I learned to save this, I just need to felt it. That's right. So, this is an oddball color. It's an aquamarine, and it no longer matches this. Everything fades over time. But the original, it's more like the silk tassels. They changed color more than the scarf did. This was always aquamarine. It just didn't have any holes in it when I adopted it. So this is going to become a cobweb scarf because of the color. I learned another technique. I think it's called Nuno silk scarf. Basically, it's when you mix your silk scarves in with the felting and on top, and it's really cool. But it's so open for artistic expression. I saw one that you'll be interested in, maybe because of all that yarn. If it's already yarn, I'm getting it. This is before you turn it into yarn. When I twist it all up, it'll be yarn. I watched somebody lay out a silk scarf like as thin as this, right? Just a whole table, covered that. And then she started just pulling little bits of her yarn out. She made this whole pattern, crisscross very evenly, and just fastened it down all over the whole scarf. So it had a very intricate zigzag. Then she went back, and because you build this stuff up in layers. This started off as white. I had the most, white is what I had the most of, so my first layers were white. So that's the inside of my pockets. But you can see the color coming through because good felting, the colors start to mesh, and then you'll start to pull the white up into the front. So anyway, she was laying out, she laid all her yarn out, and then went back with little tufts of white wool on all of the corners, because when you felt it, it looks kind of like a halo. And she just layered that, and that ended up such a gorgeous designer scarf. And when you do it yourself, it's one of a kind, right? I like being one of a kind. I mean, we all are one of a kind anyway, but I wanted some of my clothing to reflect that. I got kicked from my war games for saying in line I ran for president against Orange Guy. Oh yeah, well, you know that the companies are owned by the Trump Mafia. You should see what's going on in Sim City. I can't play anymore. In a few days, their new way of doing things is going to kick in, and I'm not spending the kind of money they're going to demand for you to save your city. So pretty much it's screw them. Oh, but let me tell you about my experiment coming up. You know, when I went back, when I did that first sesame crisp recipe in the kitchen, that video worked. But now I went to see it today, and it did not work. It was chipmunk sounding again, like the sound is sped up. Well, one of our fans from here visited me yesterday because she had to be in town for a bunch of classes and for her work. And she turned me on to another video live stream site called Epic. And I checked into the owner. The owner is the Fortnite guy, and he refuses to get involved with politics. So like it doesn't show up he's donated to any party. That's like okay, because he's like, no, we have to have some fairness, and I don't like the models that they're doing in this game and that game. So it's an epic live stream. I am going to try and do some cooking on that and see how it records, because if it doesn't record right, it's my phone. The settings of my phone are screwed up, but I don't know what else to do. Oh, are you talking about Doc? Doc's been following me for 18 years. You got kicked. I'm sure the FBI have seen my porno data. Are you boasting that you watch porn, Doc? I've had an FBI file on me since I was 15 years old and took a cop to court. So it's not a big deal. But anything that you do online, your phone is always listening. All right? It took me a bunch of videos to find how to turn some of the spy stuff off on this phone. Because nowadays a lot of these phones are just, they team up with like Google, and Google owns YouTube. And if you want to see the crap that's on YouTube, try coming to YouTube without signing in and see what's on the front pages. A lot of horrible shit. A lot of it's like, who are they giving a platform to? But once you sign in, your favorites, your habits, AI is watching all that. That's why the algorithm shows you stuff that you don't expect. With a name like Toys, you might have ended up here because I do crafts, I do painting, but that's not the original purpose of this stream. 18 years ago, I started it to teach people how to be their own best psychics instead of spending money on psychics and tarot readers and mediums. And I'll teach you how to connect and be your own, do it all yourself without paying a stranger you don't even see a dime to tell you what you already know. The Salem witch trials, first of all, they didn't actually burn anybody in Salem. They pressed them to death with rocks. I think the burnings mostly were an English thing. And they're not going after that unless you have child porn. They will bust you for child porn, and I know that because a friend of mine's brother went to jail for years because they found out he had child porn on his computer. He claimed that it was a plant or nobody, he knew nothing about it. He still spent time in jail. So if you have child pornography on your computer, you're fucked. They are watching. They're looking for that. So I hope that's not the kind of person you are. I had nothing to do with porn, but I was fighting a pedophile publicly. So anything you do against one of theirs, anything that looks like, also don't forget, on the good side, the FBI does look for child sex trafficking rings. They just completely ignored Trumpstein's files. So, I mean, they were investigating Trump for abusing minor children. Well, all children are minors, but it's sexually abusing, physically abusing, blah, blah, blah. Before he became president, I believe the reason he really ran was to stay out of jail. Matter of fact, we know he definitely ran the second time to stay out of jail. Well, I'm glad. But I suggest that you do some cleanup on your computer because, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to find new porn. But you are being watched all the time. Yes, your searches are watched. Do you know that they're watching that when you see what your searches are? There's a whole record of your searches. You have to sit there and delete all that stuff. It automatically keeps track of everything that you look at. It's automatic, and with AIs, it's even worse. They're keeping a facial recognition. All right, so it's become a very big spy organization against ourselves. So yeah, right now is not a good time to be in America. Not at all. This is it's the end of the democracy as we have seen it. It's definitely nothing like we've ever known in this country. So our 250th year, it looks like this is as far as we got before fascism took the helm. And where there is fascism, there's crushing of rights, there are lots of arrests meant to intimidate or disappear people. Another one of Epstein's co-conspirators found dead in his cell, hanged himself. Come on. You think it was an accident that our Department of Justice released the names, addresses, photographs of all of the women who filed charges against Trump and Epstein? They published all the stuff that was supposed to be redacted, and they redacted all of the names of the perpetrators, except for a couple of women. Right? They got the women, but the men, yeah. Don't worry. Call me a spy for the other side. Well, you can say that I'm a spy for heaven. In any case, politics aside, there is so much good out there everywhere in the world, and if we keep focusing on what we don't like, we're just going to keep manifesting more of that. We have to stay focused on what makes us happy, because we can't change anything from a low vibration. The only thing that raises our vibration is getting happy. Are there any Republicans? No. Well, I guess a couple of them, yeah. Well, actually, they haven't been able to get any Democrats. That's been their problem. So far, everybody they have busted is or happened to be either no affiliation, independent, or Republican. They're not busting. Not that Democrats are all innocent. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, because it's not a party thing. Pedophilia is a sickness that we've allowed in this world, and that's because of the male dominance. That's why we have the warring societies that we have. It's the male dominance. It's like the testosterone. They got to own, bulldoze everything. The most successful, most long-lasting societies were basically feminized. I mean, when I say feminized, they were led by women. Women had equal status as males. If anybody was going to be like elevated, it was women. So, you want a peaceful society? Start handing over some power to more women. Or like Kebmo said, put a woman in charge. Actually, it's a woman who wrote that song. I just like his version with Roseanne Cash better. No, like there's a congressperson just got busted for being a real sleaze, a woman, and they're calling for her to step down, and she's not doing it yet, or may not, because they're losing the Republicans, because the Republicans in office are sleazeballs and cowards, and that is what's happening. They're leaving rather than get washed out in the midterms. I love it. I never took. I mean, I've always been politically active because I came of age for voting during the Vietnam War, and so it was, and the civil rights movement. I grew up in that, so I've always been involved since a kid, up to a point. I like to know what's going on. I like to know what my reps are standing on all sides. I just look at everybody. I did. And then it became evident around the time of Reagan, and I started to see the money from inside an electric company. major one. And they had an annual dinner, and at the end of the dinner there's an envelope underneath your plate for you to donate to the Republican Party. Because, oh yes, and you get a little videotaped hello and thank you pitch from the Republican president. At that time it was Reagan. So I started seeing this. It was like, wait a second. We have to be here because of being in management. We have to attend this meeting, this dinner, but it's all just a fundraiser for the PAC, not the PAC, the lobby, the electric company lobby. So, yeah, it's sleazy. It's been sleazy for a long time. But even though I was watching things start to snowball, because we had the hole in the ozone we were dealing with. Remember that with Reagan? And he, instead of making manufacturers retool their factories, excuse me, to use a different propellant in their aerosols to stop polluting and destroying our own atmosphere. He told everybody to just wear more sunscreen. And he held off the legislation for them having to make a change for like 20 years. He gave them 20 years to keep polluting and injuring. But luckily, other people were like listening to the science, not the president. And they started curtailing the use of, was it chlorofluorocarbons, something like that? I can't remember now, it's mouthful. So people just volunteered to not use the polluting stuff, and that helped. Now the hole in the ozone is not as deadly as it was. So, but now we're in a decade of anti-science. They're railing against good diets and alcohol. No, they want you to drink alcohol. They want you to smoke cigarettes. They want you to use dirty coal. They want you to do all this stuff that's polluting and harmful, and undermining all of the responsibility of the people making the pollution. They just made it so that you can't sue a company that drops crap right in your literal backyard. If it fell out of the sky, it was their responsibility. You can't do anything about it. Clean it up yourself. There's no way now, because all the billionaires owning all those companies just got all the tax breaks, all the laws being bent to their will, regulations being removed. We're in a runaway government right now. So eventually it all comes out in the wash. So I realize all this shit's going on, but I'm not as worried as, well, some people will think I'm being naive when I say I'm not worried, but I know how energy works. So I work from an energetic point of view. I do not work in the public sphere of fear. I don't want to make people afraid. I want them to understand how powerful they are. What you can do. They want all the Americans who are not white Christian nationalists to die. Not just the poor. If you're a millionaire but you won't go along with their agenda, you're as in a much danger as an immigrant. They don't understand that right now. So they think that they're insulated because of their money. No, their ideals also have to match. All right, we're talking about Nazis basically. So if you're not doing their thing, if you're not saluting Pete Hegseth and whatever, Mr. Alcoholic, if you're not doing that, they're not considering you American. And we just had a president get in front of the whole nation and basically condemn half of the country for not agreeing with him. He doesn't even realize it's more than half the country. It's 75% of the country doesn't agree with him. But that 25 to 35% is still nuts. And also I believe, not just nuts, because we do have those that are just too freaking stupid to catch on. They still don't want to see anything. Then there are those who are being paid millions a year to lie directly to you and applaud the demon in the orange face. So yeah. They're cutting back on free speech. They're cutting back on all of the Constitution rights. Matter of fact, they can't even quote anything from the Constitution. So we've got problems, but we're going to deal with them because they don't understand how angry the majority of America is and how united we really are. They think that we're just as isolated as they want us to be. We're not. We're getting together with people in our communities. We're talking where nobody can hear us. We're turning our phones off and putting them in Faraday bags to protect them from being spied on or used by ICE. So yeah, we're fighting back. We're just not doing it in a violent way. At least it hasn't gotten to that point. We're trying to avoid that, so he has no excuse to call the military out on us, because he's doing everything else to build up his own paramilitary. That's what ICE is. They're not following the old ICE laws. ICE used to not be. I mean, did you even know there was an ICE until Trump? I didn't. They were so quiet about their business. I mean, I knew about DHS, but I didn't know anything about that. But then suddenly they're in the news. Like, why are they in the news? Why are they recruiting? What the hell is going on? And then I was like, oh, well, they just filled the ranks with the pardoned January 6 rioters who were already, mostly of them were guilty of other crimes. Some of them are dead now because they went out and after their pardon and committed more crimes. So they're working for ICE, and that is not a good thing. And old people from ICE are saying this very same thing. They're saying these people are not being trained. They're not being trained. They're nothing like what, I mean, we always had a warrant. We knew we were going. These people are just nuts. Oh, that's wonderful, toys. Well, I don't watch crime drama or things like that, so I didn't know about it. I don't watch TV. And I'm sorry your internet is slow out where you are. I do pay a premium for fast internet. Conservation workers. Oh, that's so wonderful. See, that's the kind of people I like. No wonder you ended up here. I think it's important for everybody to share their voices when they know some history. I'm an old lady. I was around a while, so I've seen the different ups and downs. And really, a lot of us, I think, but it's hard to stay on a high alert all the time. It was so hard during the race riots. And I hate that they're even called race riots. They were demonstrations. They weren't riots. They were peaceful. The rioters were the white people that went in to beat the shit out of them. And I know because my dad and my stepmother were there in person marching with Dr. King. So they were witnesses, eyewitnesses to how people were being treated and how the protesters were quiet. They sang, they held hands, they locked arms, they walked, and they got hit with batons and fire hoses and all kinds of horrible things. So when that all started to calm down and finally black people got the right to vote, it was like, it was like an amazing time. It was an awakening just to realize that all those years black people were not allowed to vote. That was like, what? What? I was born in a country where I thought everybody was supposed to be, a pledge allegiance to the flag of united. And I was misled because they've been working hard to prevent women from voting and people of color from voting. And that's what's going on right now. They're trying to take all those rights back to prevent women from voting, to prevent black people from voting. They don't want Hispanics voting. And what really pisses me off is that a whole bunch of Hispanics and black people actually sided with that. They voted for someone who wanted to be a dictator. Some even I see in the comment sections, not in mine, thank God, but I've seen in comment sections about maybe we need a dictator. It's like, fuck you. This is, if you want a dictator, go to Russia. Go somewhere where there's a dictator and see how much you enjoyed that. But don't even think about this place becoming a dictatorship. So I will defend the real America, the America that we all grew up believing was possible. And, I think the problem was, like, we got so exhausted from the first fights in the 50s and 60s that when we finally hit some rock and roll music and people started partying more and we started dropping acid and opening up our minds and looking at things that were different from our normalized white people culture, it became a more exciting world. And we were starting to feel like, hey, finally people are being treated that we're supposed to be getting treated. But it was an illusion, and in so many places all over our country, the racism and the bigotry, the misogyny has continued. Like, DEI, all these Republicans freaking out, DEI. But what DEI did, diversity, equity, inclusion, was actually get a bunch of white women into the workforce, like single mothers, white people. And then when Trump made them pull it back, a whole lot of white women were shocked to get fired. They were fired because they were originally hired because their company said you can't exclude women or anybody from seeing who's the most qualified. You have to look at everybody's resume, not just the white guy. And that was DEI. So the people protesting it the most were the ones that hurt themselves. I mean, it's just nobody investigates. They just listen like Fox News and believe everything they say. And that's just so detrimental to the human spirit. Instead of looking things up, they're listening to people who get paid millions to lie, and also they're not regulated because they're not regulated under the FCC. They're cable, and cable does not have the same laws as broadcast television and radio. We need to do something about that. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And people need to be aware of that in all of their countries, because something like that, colonization, mass murders, blah, 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 every country pretty much has experienced something to one degree or another. And Australia, definitely. Yeah. When was that, Doc? If you have parasites, you're going to stay on the toilet. If you're not eating well, properly hydrated, drinking clean water, you're going to end up spending a lot of your life on that toilet. So one of the things that was known, invasion, 30 this year. All right, that's a good year. Well, see, that's what's happening now. I think this is the good side of this regime. Nobody expected that this would actually happen. I mean, there were people, but they're the same people that are always doomsaying, about the future of this and the future of that, and there's the fall of democracy and the fall of capitalism and the fall of this and the fall of that. There's always people who can point to certain areas of history that they've studied and see a timeline in their mind, but a lot of them, they're not pointing out that they're all happening at the same time and they're all intermeshed. You have to choose where your energy is going. And if I told you what I'm able to do, now that I know who I am, what I am, you would not believe me, so I don't tell anybody. But I know I can do things that people don't think is possible because I'm using energy, not force. But the key in making any changes for the better, it always starts with raising your own vibration. We're seeing a lot of anger and hatred going on, but that's the lowest possible vibe. You cannot create anything from the red zone. It just doesn't happen. That is a destructive, it's like sending out a deep bass note across the desert and you see the sand moving. It makes a lot of noise. It causes things to fall apart. But if you want to reach the vibrations that allow you to manifest that which you desire. You have to raise it to a point of love, because the true only power, everything behind this, as crazy as it looks on the surface, everything comes from love, and that is our foundation. So as much as I'm seeing things falling apart, I'm seeing them fall together as well, because they're teaching in their standing up. They're teaching. All right, right around the globe, we've got this big push for white nationalism. But most of the globe is not white. They just don't realize that, okay? Most of the globe is not white. You start adding up the populations, and you're going to end up a little surprised if you think everybody's white. People all over the world are standing up and saying, you know what, I am tired of being suppressed by the men around me, by the religion around me. The landscape is hard enough to handle. I got to deal with this natural thing and that natural thing. I'm not going to take it from my government. I'm not going to take it from my husband. I'm not going to take it from my wife. I'm just going to learn how to see what's really important. What's important is that we learn to treat each other well, that we learn to feed ourselves, that clothe ourselves, to take care of each other and ourselves. All these people claiming to be Christian. Now, I was not raised in the Christian faith, all right? But I have always lived the Christian tenets of loving your brother at least as much as possible, and taking care of each other, and making sure you're fed and sheltered. And you do that with everybody. There's no exceptions to the rule. There's like, oh, I only help the white people. If somebody in my building is hungry, I don't care about their color or their religion. I mean, and there's lots of people here I find very disagreeable. Not because they mean to be, but just, you know, life has made them focus on their most disagreeable points, I guess. But it doesn't matter how disagreeable they are. If I know that they are sick, I will drop off soup outside their door. If I know that they are hungry, I will make sure they eat. It's just what you do as a human. So when I see all these people, like, I don't know, Trump said something about we liberated 2.5 million people from food stamps. Like, no, you didn't liberate. You just deprived a whole bunch of families of money they need to eat, including a bunch of children. It's not a feather in your cap. It's an embarrassment that you treat Americans this way. So, you know, what did Jesus say? That as you treat the least of us, you treat me? Well, I will recommend a channel. Actually the only one I pay to subscribe to. I'll write it down. I go here because they've got a lot of good vibes going and a very supportive community. I agree with you, Doc. You would think that with him stealing 50 some odd boxes of records from the archives, things that he had no right to touch, classified, top secret, he was putting himself together a bank account, information he could sell off to other countries, because he doesn't care about America. He's never cared about America. He's only ever been about himself. And as an ex-New Yorker, I'm standing on that. We knew what he was in 1972. He was a scumbag then. He's even worse now. So check out Phi Tribe. They're really good. And again, even when I say he's scum, that's the personality he's taken on. But when he drops the Mr. Donald Trump part, and he goes back to what his natural being is, well, first of all, he's going to have to experience viscerally. He's going to have to experience everything that he inflicted on people here. So, no, there is no such thing as a hell, and there's no such thing as a heaven as seen in like a biblical setting. But as far as vibration is concerned, you will get back what you give, not like coming back and being a miserable person, but in spirit, you will connect with all of the other spirits that you interacted with while you were human. And you will feel what you have imposed on them for better or worse. So when you have lifted people up, you will feel their joy and their gratitude. And when you have put people down, you will feel their anger or their embarrassment. You will feel it. You will experience it as if it was you. Well, most of us, when we go through our lives, we don't have that strong of an effect on most people. We go through our lives. But what happens when you're in a political position where you have an influence on multiple millions of people and you're making them hate your guts? It is not an exaggeration to say that Donald Trump's obituary is the most looked for in the world right now. Everybody's like waiting up every day. Is he dead yet? How does it feel to have that many people hating on you because of what you're doing and all the time being in denial, right? It's like, I'm glad I'm not him. Another thing you might enjoy, dear, is I like to listen to this motivational recording, and it's subliminal. I love subliminal, but they have to be done right. Let me find it for you. There it is. I put this on while I'm washing up, or I have it in the background when I'm drinking my tea. It's called Minds in Unison is the channel. I'm here. I'm talking on YouTube. Motivation to get things done. And it is, see that blue, it's got a blue thumbnail. I know it's backward here, but anyway, that is real. You will be surprised at how fast that sucker works. I've shared it with some people here because it's astonishing how well it works. It's just great. So I listen every day. It goes on in the background for about an hour. You don't hear it. And the egg. I'm all about eggs. I had an egg business, decorated eggs. I never heard of that. I will have to write that down. Done. Surely I've got scrap paper here. I have that on my other desk. This is my art desk. Oh, wait a minute, I got something. The Egg by Andy Weir. Ah, yes, yes. And I learned that lesson in 1999 because my father came to visit me 16 years after he croaked. And we talked for 45 minutes. Although talking is not quite the right word. And he explained everything from like, we don't die, we're not dead, stop talking about us like we're dead because you can't hear us if you think we're dead. You think you're dead. We're not dead. So talk. And then listen. The Egg, Andy Weir. Okay. I will look that up. Oh shit. I gotta go. I'm already half an hour late for my meeting. I'm gonna hear it when I get down there. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Mwah! And thank you so much for being here, toys. Have fun checking out Wet